Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us this morning. We're now going to be heading into our next session, and it's with Dean Gillespie, the Digital and Data Manager at All We Can. Thank you for joining us, Dean, and we're going to go into your session now.
Hello everyone, my name is Dean Gillespie and I'm the Digital and Data Manager at All We Can. It's great to be with you today to talk about how your charity can build a digital community and share with you the importance of people first digital fundraising. Throughout this presentation, don't forget, remember to add your name in the chat, where you're from and any questions that you might have at any time. I'll be very happy to answer them. So to set the scene, let me introduce who All We Can are. All We Can is an international NGO with a vision to see every person's potential fulfilled. We seek to do that by working in partnership to end the cycle of poverty, injustice, and inequality in some of the world's poorest communities. We're inspired by faith, we have strong links with the Methodist Church, and we've recently been recognized as one of the top 5 best charities to work for by Third Sector this year. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how we prioritized a people-first digital fundraising approach to coincide with our global emergency coronavirus appeal. But I wanted to do something this in a different way and to give some tips which I hope will be useful to you and your charity. To do this though, we have to first ask ourselves the key question: what is digital? For me, digital has and always will be about people. More specifically, in my case, that of my family and the story of my grandmother and grandfather. Personally, when I was growing up, my love and passion for digital didn't come from a fascination with the latest technology, toys, or gadgets. It came from hearing stories of my grandparents. As a young woman, my grandmother, here pictured, born in a simple terrace house in the East End of London, studied hard for her education, including teaching herself German. Because of this, she was recruited to work at Bletchley Park, the home of computing and decoding secret messages during World War II. At the same time, my grandfather, also here pictured, like many of his generation, bravely enlisted into the army to fight Nazi occupation across Europe. In an amazing coincidence, it was thanks to the work done at Bletchley Park, including my grandmother's work with others to decode Hitler's secret codes using the world's first digital computer called Colossus, which meant that millions of soldiers' lives were saved during the Normandy landings, including that of my own grandfather. For me, therefore, digital has always been about people. Without digital and technology like the world's first digital computer Colossus, my grandmother and grandfather may never have met after the war. And most importantly, without digital, the terrible suffering and injustices of oppression, prejudice, and discrimination during World War II may never have been overcome. Digital is not some abstract technological specialism. Digital is first and foremost an era. Digital is an age, and at best, digital is a time for us to build community by working together to bring greater collaboration between people, more cooperation across society, and to powerfully change people's lives in our world for the better. Now, you may be thinking, it's one thing to think that digital is about people personally or even emotionally, but how do you develop and create a people-first digital community or culture within your organization or charity? We at All We Can developed a new digital strategy focused specifically on community and on the potential and power of staff collaboration. A community-driven digital approach which sought to harness the potential of our own staff to utilize digital for greater teamwork and cooperation in supporting our work across the world to change lives. Our new digital strategy was introduced around the idea of digital as football, where all members of staff were part of one community, or should I say, one digital team. Digital was not the function of a single department or some marketing approach. Rather, digital was a cross-functioning, unifying force across the organization, built on a sense of shared community, as illustrated by the picture of the football, which you can see, which was signed by every member of the All We Can team. Digital was at the very heart of our charity's commitment to work together and to value each other's potential to make a difference in the world. Just like a football team, All We Can was and is seeking to level the playing field every day, in our case, for some of the world's poorest communities. As a small but passionate team, staff members recognize that digital as football means that the football, in this sense, our digital approach, needs to be shared between us all and has to be passed around. That it is essential for all team members to know where the ball is, what our responsibilities are, and where we might be dropping the ball. At the same time, we're all part of one digital community, working together to score team goals. It was this team spirit, this belief shared by staff members that digital was key to our community and one team culture that was instrumental and critical to delivering our people-first digital fundraising approach with our supporters during lockdown, enabling us to adapt and innovate as a team under challenging times and achieve organizational goals together as one digital community. With a people-first culture comes a people-first digital approach. If there's anything I want you to remember from today, it is this. As we are celebrating how we as charities can be more digital, let's seek to put people first. F-I-R-S-T. We begin with F. F is for frame. You should always frame your digital fundraising strategy around people, not products. What do I mean by this? Well, during extraordinary periods of crisis like we have experienced, our normal means of communication or fundraising channels, for example, for us, for events at churches or posts, were completely broken. Under these circumstances, it is easy to retreat, to develop fundraising plans internally with no real authentic engagement with key supporters. Added to this, the imperative to raise money quickly because of an overwhelming fear of loss of future income can lead to hastily implemented digital decisions, which are not viable nor meaningful to your core audiences, particularly during extreme, heightened states of emotion. Simply put, we decided to frame our digital fundraising approach first on the goal of building community with people, not simply on building cash. Any digital fundraising approach is only as good as the value it places on its supporters. It was crucial to adopt a people-first digital approach which truly valued the relationships and friendships we had built with our supporters over time. As human feelings of anxiety, worry, loss, and concern were universal at the beginning of lockdown, our first task across online communications was to remind supporters that we were not distant, but relational, that we were there for them now as they had been there for us since the charity was established over 80 years ago. As a faith-based organisation, we opened a time of online pastoral care for supporters, including prayer. We also provided tailored digital support, and together with our inspiring supporters, built a thriving online community during lockdown. With respect to digital support, we first produced a range of new online resources framed at different supporters' needs during lockdown. Our All We Can at Home resources were framed specifically with families in mind, designed to be a fun, educational resource about the world we live, with ideas for games, lesson plans, quizzes, and activities to support parents who were homeschooling. Alongside this, we produced our new All Things Hold Together resource for both individuals, churches, and community groups. This digital resource, framed on the passage in the Bible in Colossians 1:17, which was more spiritually focused, with a particular framing on those who were struggling with anxiety during lockdown or who were self-isolating. This digital resource sought to give encouragement to connect supporters as a community together and to inspire our supporters to know that they were not alone. The success of the latter resource sparked the creation and development of a new online community called 117 across our social media channels. Supporters from the UK and globally would virtually #hold together every day in a special time of reflection to come together and think about each other, the work of All We Can and the wider world. Each day at the specific time of 117, we at All We Can will produce new online video content, either pre-recorded or live, taking a people-led and community-focused online approach, ranging from times of coming together through live worship, quizzes, or featuring special guests to share reflections with others. By encouraging supporters to share these videos online so that others could also hold together, the 117 digital videos quickly started to be shared and viewed by thousands of people online every day and became the foundation of our growing digital audience reach and increased levels of online engagement during lockdown. With this in mind, I wonder, as you're watching this, is your charity framing your digital fundraising strategy toward people, not products? I is for inspire. Inspiring purpose, not just perception. Having framed our digital strategy towards online community and different supporters' needs, it was equally important to inspire our supporters with a sense of continued purpose, that our work to support some of the world's poorest communities affected by coronavirus was vital and full of purpose. To inspire our supporters online that yes, we are a community that is meeting digitally every day at 1:17 p.m, but this was not just perception. To inspire that our purpose was to continue to be all we can, an active, dynamic, united, and powerful movement for social transformation in this world. Because we had already built an active online community at 117, it felt natural to launch our new global emergency coronavirus appeal to our core supporters using this platform. Using this digital community would enable our key supporters to better understand the need of people living in poverty affected by coronavirus, and to engage and interact with supporters as one collective online movement. In turn, our core supporters would be better informed and would become digital ambassadors who would be able to share appeal content more widely in their own social networks and in their community groups. Equally, our staff team were encouraged to be digital ambassadors too, to share social media and appeal video content through their channels. This commitment to sharing content online by both staff and supporters was key in enabling our rapid organic growth during the early stages of lockdown and building organic, people-centric communities across digital channels. It was vital that our digital fundraising proposition was simple. Our key online strapline for our global emergency coronavirus appeal was easy to remember and action-driven. Pray, give, save lives. In this respect, the give and save lives was a natural digital extension to our existing online 117 movement. With this strapline, we were able to focus and tailor more precise digital calls to action, which inspired both a spiritual and social connection to give. Additionally, we embedded our key messaging digitally by creating a suite of storytelling videos. These promotional appeal videos, shown and shared via social media to thousands of people through our 117 broadcasts, sought to foster a sense of common purpose and provoke feelings of nostalgia with our key audiences around shared history and identity, evoking and inspiring our supporters to believe that this was an opportunity to hold together, to be purposeful, and to seek positive change in the lives of people, families, and children around the world affected by coronavirus. In this respect, you might want to ask yourself, are you inspiring a sense of shared purpose through your digital fundraising strategy? R is for reimagine. Your digital fundraising strategy should capture the goal of imagination, innovation, not inaction. Yes, we had framed and inspired a sense of purpose with our digital fundraising audience. But it would be fair to say that we, at All We Can, quickly realize, like many of you I'm sure who are watching, that the extraordinary contours of this global crisis allowed us to reimagine what was considered possible. Although just a small team and medium-sized charity, we at All We Can prioritize digital across the whole organization, which enabled us to adapt and innovate like never before. With a commitment to and a culture of embracing calculated digital risk over maintaining inaction or inertia, we were able to imagine, to create, to deliver, and to inspire new online digital experiences that generated new online income and revenue for our vital work, such as the Big Church Sing, Online Carnival, and Festival at Home. Taking a people-first digital approach, we recognized that there was a gap in the market. Churches were not allowed to meet together, and people could not sing together at church or in large groups. Taking the lessons and success of our 117 community, we at All We Can created the Big Church Sing. This was a new collaborative online singing experience, featuring special musical performances interspersed with key appeal messaging and emergency fundraising videos, encouraging people to donate through the simple yet effective fundraising strapline, pray, give, sing, and save lives, a natural extension of our existing online fundraising proposition. In order to deliver the Big Church Sing, we formed new digital partnerships and produced this online experience in conjunction with the newly established Methodist Choir of Great Britain, a virtual choir of over 1,400 singers, created and established by the award-winning conductor, Matt Beckenham. Additionally, we formed a new digital partnership with the Methodist Church of Great Britain to promote the Big Church Sing and broadcast the event live across their social media channels for greater reach. Our first broadcast coincided with Easter Sunday, which was broadcast to over 2,000 households watching live at one time and all singing in unison across the nation. Encouragingly, we successfully raised the highest amount of online income in a single event in our history. Here's a short clip from the Big Church Sing.
The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me.
The Big Church Sing would eventually grow into both a national and international singing and fundraising initiative every month, with even more people gathering together online during lockdown to pray, give, sing, and save lives, garnering public recognition on BBC Radio and receiving endorsements from prominent musicians. Following the success of the Big Church Sing, we continue to develop new online experiences for our supporters, including Festival at Home, a weekend-long digital event full of family games and community, available online free for all ages, and highlighting the work of All We Can's emergency coronavirus appeal. Additionally, we were able to host our very own All We Can Carnival. This online carnival featured no fireworks, but it did include artists, spoken word poets, fun game shows, singing and dancing, which proved remarkably successful. Around 500 households watched the event live at one time, and considerable uplift considering that our average size for our community events physically is around 30 people. Equally, the carnival raised our highest number of new regular givers from a single fundraising event in our history, which was, of course, extremely encouraging. Here's a short clip from the carnival.
We are an all-age, all-inclusive community dance organisation in South London. Today, my job is to get you moving as you prepare for this amazing Methodist conference. No bikes needed here. All you need is a bit of enthusiasm, a clear space, some water, and just some willingness to join in and have fun. Enjoy!
So with that in mind, I wonder if for you and your charity, can you reimagine digital experiences for your supporters? S is for strengthen. Your digital fundraising strategy should strengthen your supporters' capacity to give themselves. At All We Can, as time developed, we realized that yes, we had framed, we had inspired, and we have reimagined new online experiences using our digital people first approach. But we needed to do more. We needed to foster a sense of togetherness by strengthening our supporters to raise online funds for the appeal themselves. During this phase of the digital fundraising strategy, we wanted to equip our supporters with the right tools to generate income through simple and easy acts of active participation, including online challenge events, social media fundraisers, and virtual church services. One of the challenge events was called the In Her Shoes Challenge. We challenged our supporters during lockdown to see if they could walk or bike the same distance as Nellet, the young girl from Uganda, pictured, has to every day to school. During lockdown, when people were looking for things to do and take up new hobbies and activities, this fundraising initiative proved remarkably popular, with people of all ages getting involved, ranging from 6 all the way to 96 years old. Through social media fundraisers like on Facebook, supporters were able to share their progress, encourage others to join in the challenge too, and now allow family and friends to donate online, increasing the number of new first-time donors to All We Can through our emergency coronavirus appeal. We were also able to invite people who had taken part in the challenge events like the In Her Shoes Challenge to our 117 community, again, fostering and embracing a sense of community spirit around a common purpose with our supporters. Equally, during lockdown, we were able to support local churches to produce virtual church services, strengthening the work of All We Can's emergency coronavirus appeal. Through working together with local churches, we were able to produce a range of people-first community solutions for online worship, whether that be pre-recording sermons to our YouTube channel or streaming live services via Facebook and YouTube, as well as optimizing space during these services for supporters to give online directly to our appeal. These virtual church services again proved extremely popular, and our churches team were able to lead more speaking engagements than they had ever before lockdown. So you might want to ask yourself, how can your digital fundraising strategy strengthen your supporters' capacity to generate income themselves? Finally, T is for trust. It is vital that your digital fundraising approach should inspire trust with your supporters. Let's face it, it's no good if you frame, inspire, reimagine and strengthen your supporters' capacity to give, if in the end they do not clearly see that their kind donations have changed lives. We at All We Can wanted to ensure our wonderful supporters that their donations were making a difference and unpack powerfully in new creative ways through digital, the impact that their generosity was having in the lives of people affected by coronavirus across the world. Lockdown presented us with an opportunity to use digital to break down the barriers of distant and impersonal fundraising asks and generic tried and tested fundraising approaches. By creating meaningful online connections between supporters and the communities we serve, we wanted to show to our supporters that their impact was real and alive in the lives of real people that they could listen to and engage with online. Simply put, the personal families being supported were not just case studies in some fundraising mailing, but real people seeking to tackle coronavirus themselves, overcome poverty, and fulfill their own potential. By prioritizing digital, we were able to unpack, tailor and promote stories of impact, provide regular updates from the field, and send messages of thanks to our supporters more than ever before. Here's an example from Cameroon.
We want to be very much grateful to All We Can for coming to this our small village to sensitize us about the pandemic. We are grateful. I have been using this product with my family. This is, you can see, it's my cocoa farm, my oven, where I managed to dry my cocoa, and I live here with my children. So whenever we go to the toilet, we use our hand sanitizers. Whenever we want to eat our local food, we use this hand sanitizer. Whenever we go to the farm and we return home, we must use a hand sanitizer, and it has been very, very, very effective. We want to thank you guys for coming. Thank you so much, All We Can.
With that in mind, you might want to think and ponder on, how is your digital fundraising strategy inspiring trust with your supporters? To recap, as we as charities seek to be more digital, let us remember to put people first, F-I-R-S-T. To frame your digital approach towards people, not products. To inspire a sense of common purpose. To reimagine new online experiences which wow your supporters. To strengthen your supporters' capacities to raise money themselves, and to inspire trust with your donors by breaking down artificial barriers and demonstrating to your supporters that their actions make a meaningful difference in fulfilling people's potential. My hope is that in the months and years ahead, as individuals, as digital leaders, and as charities, that we continue to believe for ourselves, for our families, for our staff colleagues, for our supporters, and for the communities that we serve, that digital is always about people first.
Hi everyone. Hi Dean, how are you? I'm sorry, you're still on mute, I'm afraid.
Oh, sorry, there we go. I'm fine, thank you. Thanks so much for having me on. It's great to be seeing all the comments and come together, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your session. It was really interesting. And yeah, I've been really loving reading everyone's comments. It's amazing that people are getting to know one another and they've enjoyed the session. So without any further ado, I think we're going to jump into our Q&A. The first thing I'd like to say is with such a lively, positive chat. We don't want to miss any of your questions, so please pop them in the Q&A. It looks like 2 overlapping speech bubbles at the bottom of your screen, and then we'll be able to carry on from there. Our first question comes from Kat. Hi, Kat. She asks, how can small charities who used to do most of their fundraising in person begin to grow authentic communities online? Our following is currently very small. We've grown since lockdown, but it's hard to find new supporters online.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hello, Kat. I was actually reading your question whilst it was going on, and just seeing basically about that you've grown since lockdown. So, the first question I would say is congratulations. Don't look at what the trends are there, the analytics. Why have people grown? So you're doing something right. So don't think that is just small. In fact, just to give you a little bit of context, we've also grown. We want enormous social presence. But to be honest with you, what I would say in answer to your question is do basically go live, use video content that you can bring that support in. So I think the most important thing is not always thinking that digital is always so complex or some tactics or it's some sort of idea about skill. Just get in front of people and bring them around a sense of community. So I would certainly say on social media, what we've seen really positive, Kat, is just being there on live and video and that sort of thing. So what I say to you is, well done with the growth. Have a look at what our analytics are, because that's great. And then also maybe you can think about how you, as a person, can be more visible, so that people, when they come onto your social media channel, won't just see a corporation or an organisation, but they'll know you, Kat, and they'll know other people from your organisation, and they can be personal and authentic in that way.
Great, thank you, Dean. That's really helpful. Lots of handy tips in there. And that leads us on nicely to our next question from our attendee, who asks, how did you make sure that you were engaging with the older generation of your community who might not be quite as tech savvy?
Absolutely, very good question. In fact, just to say to you, most of our audience tend to be more elderly rather than younger. So there's always a myth, I think, sometimes that it's the older generation who can't keep up with tech. Actually, we've seen that, particularly with our 117 community, the Big Church thing, it's often the older generation who are doing that. So just an encouragement that it's not always to see people in that demographic. And what we've done is we've tried to make simple ways that people can access digital in very simple ways. For example, the Big Church Sing was streamed on YouTube, which means that people, for example, can maybe put on their WhatsApp groups or whatever, they can connect with people, so they don't need a Facebook login. We have seen that we tended to go with there tend to be an older generation on Facebook, so there is quite a lot of demographics in terms of building up community on Facebook. But what I would say is make sure that in everything that you do, think from that person's point of view, not what you're trying to put out, but how am I making this simple enough for and as basic as possible for somebody to come online. So for example, the Big Church Sing, it just needs to be clicked on by a link. One click and people can go on it. So yeah, so just this encouragement, people are elderly more actually on social media and things like that. And also just make it simple. Think about one click. Think about that person, not about what you're coming from that perspective.
Excellent, thank you, Dean. I think it's so valuable to really put yourself in the footsteps of the people you're trying to reach. It's so valuable. Our next question comes from Beth House, and they ask, first of all, they say that it's very inspiring, and they ask, what advice do you have for a tiny charity of only about 3 staff members who've worked in theatre previously? They're an inclusive theatre company with fairly low levels of digital skills. Is there something they can do first? Is there a particular step that they can take to upskill, or a particular area to focus on?
Sure. So hi, Beth. Just to give encouragement again, you've got 3 people. We've literally got 1 person paid for digital at All We Can. So, and actually my time is half time as well, working on programs as well as public engagement. So just to say to you, you've got 3 people who are willing to get involved in digital. That's fantastic. So take a real source of encouragement from that. If I'm going to be honest with you, Beth, I think we often, as digital people, think so much about skills And that can lead to a sense that, oh, are we ever good enough in terms of digital? Are we actually going to be able to do these exciting things? I think rather than thinking about skills, think about ethos and culture, and in a sense, do digital. You can learn digital by doing it. So for example, as I said in a previous comment, the fact if you want to build up visibility on social media, maybe through videos, it allows you to then to adapt and innovate. So don't stop because you don't think that you have enough skills. We've learnt a lot during this process. I don't have all the answers, far from it. And actually just learn by doing digital. To be more digital means to do digital, not just learning about digital. And so I would say less about skills, think more about confidence. You've got three people who are working together, and maybe you can think through, actually, how can we be building community? And by just doing it. So you might want to think about video content on social media, which has been really helpful for us.
Amazing, thank you. That's so timely, isn't it? In this sort of new reality, we're all just sort of finding this new world, and it's just kind of adapting and taking the first steps.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest with you, I think what would be really important to say today is, don't think that, we're supposed to be called experts, but we're learning and we're continuing to learn. And that is a wonderful thing about digital, because it's not simply about that technological specialism or abstract specialism. It is about community and about collaboration. So just think, how can I bring people together? And that's really the key for what we try to think anyway about what digital is.
Brilliant, thank you so much. We have a slightly specific question now from Janine, who says, hi, Dean, and asks, which platform did you use for your 117 online meetings? Was it live? Did it have chat? Any sort of do's and don'ts?
You've got the right question there. We started off using Zoom, to be honest with you, and found it was quite slow, and it didn't allow us to, we could only pre-record. So what we use is StreamYard, Janine. So StreamYard's brilliant because it's so simple, it's so user effective. It means that you can put banners up on things and you can communicate that message to people who are watching. And to be honest with you, the user face is very, very simple. So definitely check out StreamYard, and they go live. I mean, you can also do pre-records, but we normally go live because it tends to increase audiences, basically. So check out StreamYard. That's a little plug there. Hopefully might get rewarded, who knows. No, check out StreamYard, and that's what the platform we use.
Excellent, thank you. It's so good to know there's so many sort of platforms available at the moment. So good to try them and find the one that really works for you.
Absolutely. And again, just, it may not work for you, that platform, but just try, keep looking at different platforms and what might work for you. And again, we learned this during the process of lockdown. So again, we haven't been using it for that long, so we're still using it, and we're still trying to seek to grow and to learn as well.
Amazing, thank you. Okay, our next question comes from Catherine, who mentions that they source most of their income from trusts and foundations who have sort of limited engagement on social media channels. And what would you suggest to them as the first steps to reach and engage a digital audience?
For the trusts and the institutions, or for them, okay. I would firstly say there is something about using digital for those trusts. Maybe you could set up a virtual meeting where you talk about the impact of what happens. I know you're talking about other wider use, but just to say there is digital even in that use. There's always a use for digital. I think in terms of using social media, I think, again, there's this idea that digital is not involved in trusts, and it's not involved in this. And recently we had a major donor event, which was a virtual meeting. So I think the small steps, if you've got the social media limited, seek to grow that, of course, but maybe you want to start off with how can you bring about digital engagement and community with your existing supporters. Because if you tell people and you build out that community, they might then tell other people. So maybe you could show the impact of the work that you have to your regular givers or to your individual donors. And then maybe if you grow that, you can then say, okay, we're going to follow a social media channel, or we're going to build that thing. So one step at a time, but I would say, don't think that digital is just about social media. It's about collaboration, it's about community, and therefore start with the community that you've got. Trust in institutions, ensure that they know the impact of that work, and also maybe with the existing supporters, and then get your existing supporters to like and follow your social media channels, and maybe then grow that channel as well.
Amazing, thank you. Thank you for the details. Lots of great advice there, and especially sort of like the organic, your connections with people aspect of things. And it leads us nicely into this question from Christabel, who asks, if we're trying to fundraise for the work we do and offer to health and care sector organisations, what would you suggest is the key to ensuring it's more about people rather than products or particular propositions, which is nicely connected to the last one, I think.
Absolutely. So it's health and care. I mean, there's so many wonderful stories, isn't there, of care and love, and how people support people through the healthcare sector, and you do fantastic work. I would say focus on stories of people, on times where your charity has actually supported people through those healthcare things. I know that sounds simple, but think, how creatively can you tell those stories? Can you, as I say, show that to your regular supporters? Can you show that to the people who are funding you first of all? And I think there's a really important part in that is go to the people who respect your organisation. We often seek, in digital, to think always about new people, but actually people can give more, and people can be loyal, and they can bring through word of mouth other people to your charity. So I would say, go to the people that lives that you've changed. Go to the people and tell their stories. And by telling their stories, they get involved as well. And they think, well, that's nice, and they want to hear their story being told because it's inspirational. And then building it from that point of view. So yeah, always focus on people's stories first, rather than always maybe thinking about new acquisition, or just start with respect and authenticity of people. That's what I would say. I hope that answers your questions. If you need to, you can always chat to me as well.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And that's lovely discussion. Lovely to learn more about what you have to tell all of our attendees.